Miss Brooks, welcome to
Yes,
your interview session. Good morning.
thank you. Thank you. I seem to have lost. There you are. Okay. Hi, how are you? How's
We're doing
everybody?
all fine. Thank you,
Good.
and it's great seeing you.
Great to see
Uh,
you.
I'd like to give you some background about our association and then
Okay.
a couple of ground rules that we all follow and have followed with the rest of the candidates. First and
Okay.
foremost, our association has been in existence since 1920. That makes us about 106 years old. We started
Wow.
with about 70 members. Now we do have about 1,500 members, 1,200 of whom are registered voters in the city of Glendale. And I'm sharing this with you is because we, amongst those 1,200, along with our families, our networks, our clients in city of
hmm
Glendale, do
hmm
touch a large number of voters in the city. By the way, giving back to the community is not episodic for us. It is
hmm
not once or twice an event. It has been going on for the past 20, 25 years, Ms. Brooks, and
hmm
we have given back somewhere close to about million, million and a half to different civic organizations in the city, such as Salvation Army and what have you. And the reason I'm
hmm
sharing this with you is because we are part and parcel of this community, and that's part and parcel of our DNA. Having said all of that, again, we appreciate having you. You will have a couple of minutes
hmm
for your opening statement, and of course, 2 or 3 minutes, actually 2 minutes, for your closing remarks. And we will begin with your opening statement, and then we will start. I'll be introducing our members that'll be asking the questions from you. So please
Sure.
feel comfortable and get started.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Beth Brooks, as you know. I've lived in Glendale about 32 years. I moved to Los Angeles more than about 40 years ago, when my parents came from New York, as you can tell by my accent, which you can hear me at city council meetings, and I'm very set. I'm very a little bit embarrassed about when you live in California. Um, I have an English degree from Vassar College. I had 20 years in marketing research. I've worked in the US and also in Paris. I helped set up an office in Paris. Um, I got involved in the city council about a year and a half ago when I had an issue I needed to take care of at the city. And I'll be honest, I felt that I didn't get the help that I needed. And when I started to go to the meetings, I actually saw what I felt was a bit of dysfunction, or maybe more than a bit of dysfunction, which I decided was not even just the decisions they were making, which I thought were terrible. It was the decision-making process. And I think that people don't necessarily talk about the process, which is that they don't use any kind of objective criteria to make decisions. If you have an RFP to hand out a contract, you do have objective criteria, but when they make decisions, they do not. So I believe that the public who isn't engaged properly, and the reason they're not engaged properly is because what they should do is they should institute the same procedures that an advertiser has. You have to draw people in to want to participate. You don't just put a survey up and say, "Here, please participate." That would be the same as somebody putting out a laundry container and saying, "Here's my laundry container, please buy it." It absolutely doesn't make sense. And you really have to tell people almost why, if they don't participate, this could happen to their communities, to their wallets, to their lifestyle. So I'm a very outspoken person. I'm a very transparent person. Um, I think I'm unique in that way. And I think that because this is an odd, situation on some level, because I'm a renter, and that's how I became involved in the city. But my thinking has completely taken a 180, even a 360, because I have two people who really help support me and give me a lot of information, and they're small landlords. One of whom is Mr. Herbert Milano, and the other one, I haven't asked his permission to share his name, so I'm not going to say it. But they have really revolutionized the way I think about things. And I am, as Mr. Historian probably knows, against the overdevelopment in this city. I really am. If you're going to build, you're going to have to build small. You're going to have to repurpose commercial areas, and you're going to have to build south. I think, I live near downtown, so I see what's going on here. I live in
Very,
downtown, actually.
very good. Thank you. And your first question, Ms. Brooks, will come from our president, Drew Garpetian. Drew?
Good morning. Good
Good
afternoon.
morning.
It's afternoon
Hi.
now, Ms. Brooks. My
Yeah.
question is in regards to revenue measures to address
Hmm.
Glendale's projected structural budget deficit. Some have proposed placing various revenue measures on the ballot. Would you be in favor of any of the following? And if so, please explain why. Number one, parcel tax. Number two, a real estate tax. Number three, a sales tax increase. And number four, a vacancy tax on residential or commercial properties. Thank you.
I am for no new taxes. I think that people are struggling in this city, business owners and residents, and I don't think they could handle that. I absolutely don't think they could handle it. A parcel tax, I believe, would be the same tax on every property, no matter how big it is. So that right off the bat doesn't make sense. I think that the city is, they really are. I go almost every week. They spend recklessly. They really do. And at least Mr. Milano, who puts together, and I even have the latest version for the Charter Review Committee, has gone in forensically to see what's going on. And I don't think that residents should have any new taxes. No, I am a little concerned when I see commercial buildings that have a lot of what might be offices that aren't, or storefronts. You know, there are a lot of storefronts that are empty. And I'm wondering if those owners would be willing to have pop ups. You know, there are a lot of cities that have pop up businesses. I think that would be very clever and it would actually generate revenue for the city. And I don't know why we don't do that. I'll see storefronts that are empty for so many. There's one, I think it's been empty for 30 years. And a pop up would be fabulous. So that's
Very
my
good.
answer. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you so very much. So
Sure.
our next question will come from our former president and the chair of Local Government Relations Committee, Eddie Minassian. Eddie?
Good afternoon.
Hi.
Hi. My question for you is that regarding council district elections, do you support or oppose transitioning Glendale from at-large elections to district-based council elections, and why? If you support districts, how many should Glendale have, and what criteria should guide the map? If you oppose districts, how would you address the city's CVRA exposures and potential litigation costs?
Yeah, I vehemently oppose districts. I think that if you took the dysfunction on the council already, it would increase exponentially. I'm told that that there was a case, or there is a case, that the municipality is winning or has won, and I don't think our risk of litigation is actually very high. I really don't. So I would not go down that avenue at all. They brought it to the voters. The voters rejected it. And I don't see any city that has benefited from districts. I mean, if somebody can show me a city that said, oh, we're so much better now that we have districts, it seems like it increased everything and made everything worse. So it doesn't make sense to me. Um, that would be my answer. I'm told that our risk of litigation is not as high as people actually think.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you very much. So your next question would be from our president-elect and current board member, Susan Bruselian.
Hi, Beth. Thank you for
Hi, Susan.
thank you for joining us today.
Sure.
My question is in regards to housing types and development. In general, which types of housing development do you believe Glendale should prioritize in? Large apartment buildings, mid-scale multifamily developments, ownership housing such as single-family condos and townhouses, or a balanced mix depending on the location?
I don't believe you. I think everything except large apartment buildings. I live downtown. I can see what I believe are many, many empty rentals. I'll be honest. There's one entire building that's corporate housing. It's the Amley. I believe it's on Orange. I see that it's not an issue of supply and demand, and most of those are coming in at market rate. So they're not really helping anybody. We obviously need single family housing because also a lot of this new building is coming in as smaller units. Studios, one bedrooms, very few three bedrooms. You almost never see three bedrooms. So families are not being welcomed. So I would say build smaller because the smaller you build, the cheaper it is. And the cheaper it is, the more you reduce the affordability crisis, because I don't think it's a unit crisis, except for single family homes and condos. But I know that condos, there is the 10-year law or that you can sue the landlord, and I think that something has to happen about that. I think Mr. Garpetian has suggested that the city take on some of that burden or create an ordinance to help people to make condos more attractive. So I think home ownership has to be prioritized and small housing. I think small housing because it's cheaper to build and it's in areas. I think it's enough with the dense housing. I think there's almost an obsession in my mind with building large and people are not going in there. They're not renting them. I think the vacancy rate is much higher than we think.
Thank you, Beth.
Sure.
Very good. And so stay tuned because there is a lot of work on state level being done with that construction defect 10-year liability.
Right, that's what it is. Yeah.
That will come out. Our next question, Ms. Brooks, will be from our current board member and a former president, Armik Abedisian. Armik?
You're muted, Armic.
Good afternoon, Beth. Welcome.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
My question is about bike lanes and bike lane policy. Do you support or oppose removing vehicle lanes to create a bike only lanes in Glendale? If you support the lane reduction, what evidence do you have that voters agree? And if you oppose the reduction, what alternative mobility and safety improvements would you propose? Thank you.
I am passionately against removing bike lanes. I mean, I almost feel like this is something I personally am so invested in. I had my daughter who's 29 when she was an infant, she stopped breathing. And the police came. Part of the reason I actually moved to Glendale was because of the police. Actually, that is the reason I moved to Glendale because of the crime rate. And if I think that she was if there was less, a lane had been reduced, that the fire department and the police would get here in a longer amount of time, I think that's insanity. I think the idea that bicyclists need a lane on a major thoroughfare, they've been riding on the side streets for decades. This absolutely does not make sense to me. You don't fix a problem by creating a worse problem. And traffic or congestion can actually turn into a fatality with just a couple of seconds. I did that myself. I actually had to drive myself to the hospital and I had an appendicitis. I didn't know. And I had to have emergency surgery. What if there was a bike lane and I had to get to the hospital? And it's not just that. It's, mothers picking up their children at daycare. It's people going to work. One is a utilitarian purpose. The other is for pleasure. I mean, it's not even, as I said about objective criteria to make decisions, this I think is not rocket science at all. It's really not. and you have to deal with street safety, and because they keep using this as an excuse to make the streets safer. If you need to make the streets safer in my neighborhood, you have to improve the lighting. The lighting, it's very, very dark. Crosswalks. I think you have to increase pedestrian safety as well. Again, I'm from New York, and we are very, I know if I say this, it sounds, strange, offensive drivers. I mean, offensive pedestrians, maybe also offensive, but we know how to cross the street. We really do. We know you look somebody in the eye. And also, of course, you have to increase the visibility of crosswalks. But I think this is not just foolhardy. I think this is absolutely politically driven, and it is dangerous. It is dangerous. You don't increase traffic for people that for 80% when 1% ride a bike in Glendale. Those are the numbers.
Thank you.
Sure.
Very good. And so your next question will come from a member of our local government relations, Kathy Lefkowitz.
Okay.
Hello, Beth.
Hi.
My question is concerning publicly owned parking lots. Do you support or oppose developing publicly owned parking lots, such as Montrose or around the Civic Center, into mixed-use housing? And if you support the idea, how will you address parking displacement and protect small business?
Okay, again, I am vehemently opposed to that. I have done so much research on that actually, and I went to council so many times, and went after Mr. Calvert, who was misleading the public about that. I don't think that you harm businesses because we do have areas where we can build. That again is just an absolute no-brainer. You don't take away parking lot. That is the lifeblood of businesses. You don't, actually, I will tell you the truth. I've done enough research to find that they erroneously declared them surplus. So to rescind that will be actually very, very easy. You can't take away parking for a municipal building where that parking is necessary for that building. You cannot take away parking for businesses that rely on that parking, and you can show that that it's used at peak hours, and not just overall over a 24-hour period. You have to look at the peak hours over a certain percentage. You cannot remove parking if it's in a transportation plan. You cannot remove parking if it's in a business plan. And the church, the St. Gregory's Armenian Church, there is a lawsuit. I already sent them all the research on a lawsuit they could mount. And then they want to get rid of ARTSOC. They want to get rid of the parking lot at the marketplace. All of this is foolhardy. I know this is a real estate organization, but you don't, again, like with the bike lanes, you don't create a problem that is worse. If you want to bring in businesses, this is not the way to go. Hello, businesses, please come to Glendale, but we have no parking for your customers. That, again, doesn't make any sense, especially when we do have areas that, again, further south along San Fernando Road, we have a lot of undeveloped places that we could build housing. A lot of areas. That's what I'm seeing, and I think that that's absolutely crazy. And they made that decision based upon misleading information from Mr. Calvert, who thankfully is gone now.
Thank you. Your next question will be posed by our board member and former president, Carmen Arome. Carmen?
Hello, Beth. It's a pleasure
Hi.
having you. Thanks for being with
Thank
us.
you. Thank you.
So, my question is regarding rent registries. Do you suppose, sorry, do you support or oppose a mandatory rent registry in the city of Glendale? If you support it, what specific data should be collected from the property owners, and how should sensitive information be protected? If you oppose it, what alternative data sources should the city implement or rely upon for rental market analysis?
Okay, I had a complete transformation of my opinion about this because of Mr. Milano and this other person. Complete, I mean, 360, not even a 180. At first, I was for a rental registry because I felt that it generated revenue, excuse me, and that revenue could be used to help low-income seniors, the disabled, and veterans. But when I spoke to Mr. Milano, and he's absolutely right, that if you start with a fee, it never ends. I mean, Pasadena charges $250, and that's crazy. I don't know. I'm on the fence about large development, but that's also, and you pass it on to the renters anyway. So my idea would be that you have voluntary, that tenants, you actually have a registry that tenants sign into, that you create a database based upon what tenants are reporting, and that should be vacancy rate. If you know that a building has, I live in an eightplex, if we know that there are 8 people in this building and each person is offering, yes, I live there, this is how long, I don't even think you need to know how long somebody's lived there. I think it's the rent and is the unit occupied, period. And I think you can easily get that from tenants and you don't have to burden landlords. And for me personally, because I don't think anymore that that's the way you help, let's say, elderly renters, I think in my mind, a lot of the laws coming from Sacramento are very bad for the city. And even though I've looked into how we could possibly sue the state, which we can't as a municipality, we exist, by virtue of being an arm of the state, that I think we have to say we have to stop with this obsession of building, especially high density, to show the true vacancy rate. We need the true vacancy rate in the city. That's why I want a rental registry. I don't believe in lawyers for renters. I think that's great. I mean, I've never believed in that. I think that's crazy. But I think we need the true vacancy rate. That's it. I don't think that anybody needs to have access to know if I pay more than my neighbor next door. I think that's it, and I think we could get that without hurting, especially mom and pops, who we have to protect. As a renter, I need to protect the mom and pop landlords because if I don't, a big develop they can't afford to. They're not making any money, and there will be mass evictions all over the city. People don't understand. You don't cut your nose off to spite your face. That's crazy. You don't hurt mom and pop landlords at all. So that's my opinion on the rental registry.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you. I appreciate your response. Perhaps just a plug-in for Glendale Association of Realtors. We have access to vast data that will give you all of those numbers. But that's a conversation that for another day with any one of our members or myself. With
Interesting.
with that, you have made great time in responding to the questions. As I've always said, you've been very frugal with your time, but generous with your responses. So we appreciate that. For
You're
that
so
reason
kind.
only, for that reason only, you have at least another 4 minutes for your remarks or anything else that you need for us to know about you, and we'll be happy to lend an ear.
Okay, you know what? I would say something happened the other day where I saw that a candidate received an endorsement from an educational fund. Now, I've been following this candidate since he first appeared on the scene in September, and the candidate has no background in that, has no footprint for advocacy, um, and never went to council. And this is a very big criteria for me to actually be a council member. Did you ever show an interest in the city? Did you ever advocate for anyone? Did you ever come to a meeting? And I'm not just saying that about myself. I really, I mean, I have actually a checklist of things that I would say do not even consider this candidate. So it made me think about endorsements because the endorsements are not just from your organization. Because look, if union members give an endorsement to a candidate because they feel that that candidate will benefit that union, that's the nature of an endorsement. But it goes further than that. If you endorse a candidate to be a city council member, that's different. You are saying that they can make decisions over $1.2 billion. They can determine the fate of people's financial well-being, their safety, their health. So these things are very serious. So it's not just responses to a questionnaire because people can have their campaign manager respond to to the questionnaire. They can practice their answers. There are so many things. This endorsement process is very, very serious. I think personally, in my opinion, there are only 4 viable candidates. I do. And I know there are 3 seats. There are 4 viable candidates, and the rest will not be good for the city. So I am really thinking about this process because of what I saw happen. So I know, and I know, look, I know I'm a renter, and this is a sort of a strange thing, but I am a person who wants to be fair to everybody. That's why I am for single family neighborhoods. You don't have to be a renter to do the right thing. Why would I punish people who achieved their American dream because some people haven't achieved it yet? I don't understand people wanting to do that. You don't resent the people who have success because it's harder for you to have success. You have to have, that's not compassion, that's not even sympathy, that's just common sense, and that's courtesy. So I don't have to be a man to make a decision about that would affect men. A man doesn't have to be a woman to make a decision about women. You have to do what's fair. I do think I'm actually a good candidate. I'm not saying that. I jumped in the race late because this is what I saw. I saw that I could actually do something really, really important. And as I said, I think there are only 4 candidates. And I would love your endorsement because I think this would really be a little bit revolutionary to have a real estate organization endorse a renter, because I think I can cross the aisle. I really do. And because I have very smart people in my ear, very smart people. You know, you could be a landlord who's for tenants, you could be a tenant who's for landlords. This is not a binary choice. And I thought it was. I really did. I thought it was adversarial. I thought there was a binary choice. It is not. Most choices are not. So that's what I would have to say.
Well, thank you so very much for taking time with us. This
I
was
appreciate it.
illuminating, and
Thank
I'm
you.
sure I'm speaking for everyone. And best of luck on your campaign
Thank you,
trails and
Mr.
your
Astorian.
interviews. And
Thank you.
we will bid you farewell right now and let go of you for the moment. Thank you so
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you all. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye bye.